Reena James. We've all had them. Noisy neighbors. The stomping, the loud music, the arguments. It's enough to drive anyone a little crazy, right? Most of us, we might bang on the ceiling with a broom, maybe leave a passive-aggressive note. But a Karen? A Karen takes it to a whole other level. Meet 43-year-old Reena James from Bedford, England. On July 4th, 2022, Reena was enraged by the noise coming from her upstairs neighbors. Instead of, talking to them or calling the police, she decided on a more permanent solution. She grabbed a hammer, smashed her way into the flat above hers in Redwood Grove, and decided she was going to burn it down, with them inside. Her plan was, simple, I guess. She got a can of petrol and started pouring it through their letterbox. Just kept pouring, filling their hallway with gasoline fumes. Now, for anyone who paid attention in, elementary school science class, you'll know that petrol is volatile. The vapors are highly flammable. It's not just the liquid that burns, it's the air itself that becomes a bomb. And that's exactly what happened. The fumes ignited almost instantly. Maybe it was a pilot light, a spark from an appliance, who knows? The result was a massive, devastating explosion that destroyed multiple homes. 3 people, including a firefighter and 2 residents, were rushed to the hospital. And Reena? She was killed instantly by blast injuries. She was, quite literally, blown to pieces by her own rage-fueled stupidity. The irony here is hard to ignore. She went there to hurt someone else and ended up being the only casualty. The neighbors she wanted to harm? They survived. Reena didn't. She wanted to start a fire, and she ended up at the center of an explosion. Bro, you just can't make this stuff up. Natalie Buss. Sometimes, Karen behavior isn't about rage, but about entitlement. A deep, unshakable belief that you are the main character, and that winning is the only thing that matters. Even if the prize is, well, nothing. On October 7th, 2023, 37-year-old Natalie Buss, an accountant and mother of 2, was at a charity fundraiser for her son's rugby team in Wales. It was a happy community event. The DJ, a guy with 15 years of experience, decided to start some party games. One of them was a classic. Fit the most marshmallows in your mouth. Of course you know where this is going. Natalie was called up on stage. In front of her, dozens of pink and white marshmallows. The goal? Stuff as many as you can in your mouth in 60 seconds. And Natalie was a competitor. She didn't just place a few in her cheeks. Nope, she started swallowing them. Handfuls at a time, shoving them in, swallowing them down, trying to make room for more. She was going to win this game no matter what. She left the stage after the 60-second timer went off. She walked into a corridor, and then she suddenly collapsed. Her airway was completely blocked. The marshmallows, now mixed with saliva, had expanded and stuck together, forming a dense, sticky plug that no amount of Heimlich could dislodge. An off-duty nurse rushed to help. Paramedics were called, but it was too late. They couldn't clear her throat. She choked to death right there at her own son's fundraiser. This is a special kind of Karen. The competitive mom who believes she can do anything. The entitlement that makes you ignore your own body's screaming signals to stop. She prioritized winning a stupid, pointless game over her own safety, and in doing so, left 2 children without a mother. It was a 100% preventable death, caused by nothing more than the desperate need to be a winner. The prize, in the end, was a Darwin Award. Wow. Sandra Macedo. Selfie culture. The desperate, all-consuming need to prove to the world that you're living your best life, even if it kills you. And for 44-year-old Sandra Macedo, it did. Sandra was still new to Panama. A young PE teacher from Aves, a small town in northern Portugal, who had moved here to teach. A mother of 2. She wasn't supposed to end up in a viral video. But on the morning of October 12th, 2018, around 10 o'clock on a regular weekday, someone on a nearby building pulled out their phone and started filming. Sandra was on the 27th floor balcony of the Luxor Tower in the El Cangrejo neighborhood. She had a great view of Panama City, and she wanted the perfect photo. So, what does she do? She sits like half on the low balcony railing, 230 feet in the air. With a selfie stick in hand, she starts leaning back to get the perfect angle. Construction workers on a nearby building saw her. They started shouting, screaming at her to get down. But, with the wind and the height, she either didn't hear them or just didn't care. The photo was more important. And then it happened. Local media say a sudden gust of wind probably pushed her just enough off balance. 1 second of wobbling, and then the fall. Still holding that selfie stick. The most sickening part? The workers filmed the whole thing. In the video, you can hear someone say, "She's mad. There she goes. She's fallen." Paramedics arrived quickly at the Luxor Tower, but there was nothing they could do. She was dead on the spot. The Panama Fire Service later tweeted a warning. "Don't risk your life for a selfie. It's more important to lose a minute in life than your life in a minute." And Sandra wasn't alone. A study found that between 2011 and 2017, at least 259 people died taking selfies. Over 70% of them were men, but Sandra proved that stupidity doesn't discriminate. Chelsea Ake. And for our fourth story, we have a different kind of Karen. Not the angry, entitled type, but the one who is so confident in her own expertise that she ignores basic safety rules. The one who thinks, "I know what I'm doing. It won't happen to me." Meet 24-year-old Chelsea Ake, the night manager of a cryotherapy spa in Las Vegas called Rejuvenice. Chelsea was a huge believer in cryotherapy. She was from Hawaii, dreamed of opening her own cryocenter one day, and used the machines regularly herself. She was, an expert. On the night of October 19th, 2015, after closing time, Chelsea stayed behind to do a cryo session by herself. The basic rule of cryotherapy? Never, ever do it alone. But Chelsea knew best. She was the manager, after all. She wanted to treat some muscle soreness. The next morning, a colleague arrived to open up. She walked in and found Chelsea, frozen solid inside the cryotherapy chamber. There's a 911 call from that moment. You can hear the colleagues screaming, barely able to get the words out.
"Help! Help! We work at cryotherapy." Okay, stay on the line. She put herself in a chamber by herself.
She had been in there for about 10 hours, at temperatures reaching minus 240 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 150 Celsius. The coroner ruled her death an accident, caused by asphyxia in an oxygen-deprived environment. Basically, she suffocated and froze to death. Investigators later called it operator error. She had set the machine up incorrectly, didn't get enough oxygen, and passed out. The spa itself didn't even have the right licenses to operate. The whole thing was a disaster waiting to happen. But Chelsea, the one who knew everything about cryotherapy, she was so sure of herself that she broke the number one rule, and she paid the ultimate price for it. Anna Ursu. And we're back to selfies, because apparently one selfie death in this video wasn't enough. This one, though, is on a whole other level of stupid. Anna Ursu was 18 years old, a student from Iași, a city in northeastern Romania. One day in May 2015, she and her 17-year-old friend decided they wanted to take the ultimate selfie for Facebook. And where do you go for the ultimate selfie? A train yard, obviously. The two girls snuck onto a railway siding near the station and climbed on top of a parked locomotive. Now, here's the thing about trains. Above them, there are overhead power lines. And these aren't your regular household wires. We're talking about 27,000 volts. That's enough to kill you instantly. A passerby on the platform actually saw them up there. He shouted at them, warning them to keep their heads down and stay away from the cables. But Anna and her friend, they didn't listen. They were too focused on getting that perfect shot. Anna lay down on the roof of the train and kicked her leg up in the air for the photo. And that's when it happened. She got too close to the power line. You don't even have to touch it. The electric field around a 27,000-volt cable is strong enough to arc through the air. A massive bolt of electricity shot through her body, creating what witnesses described as a fireball. Her friend was thrown off the roof by the force of the shock. She survived with minor injuries. Anna wasn't so lucky. The passerby who had warned them climbed up onto the train, risking his own life, and tried to put out her burning clothes. Anna had burns over 50% of her body and severe internal damage. She was airlifted to the hospital in Iași, then transferred to a burn center in Bucharest. Doctors said her entire body was burned and she had virtually no chance of survival. A few days later, she died. Her friend later told investigators that they just wanted the ultimate selfie. They didn't realize how dangerous the power lines were. 27,000 volts. For a Facebook photo? Seriously? That's the world we live in now. Catherine Chappell. Great that you're still watching. Our final Karen is a special one, a successful Emmy Award-winning visual effects editor who worked on Game of Thrones, a woman who traveled to South Africa on a volunteer mission to protect wildlife. And how did she die? Well, let's just say the irony of how she died is almost too much to handle. Catherine Chappell was 29 years old, from Rye, New York, and working at Scanline VFX in Vancouver. She had just set up a GoFundMe to raise money for Wildlife Act. On her fundraising page, she wrote about wanting to help track, monitor, and protect rhinos, cheetahs, and African wild dogs. She wanted to set up camera traps to catch poachers. So yeah, she actually gave a damn about these animals. On June 1st, 2015, Catherine was on a tour at the Lion Park in Gauteng Province, South Africa. Now, this park has one very, very important rule. It's on signs everywhere. It's on the paper slip they hand you when you enter. Keep your windows closed. I mean, it's a park full of lions, not, fluffy kittens. Oh, and by the way, this park had a history. An Australian tourist had been bitten in the arm before for driving with an open window. A teenager on a bike was attacked by a cheetah. So, they weren't joking around. Now, according to the tour company, Catherine had her windows closed during most of the drive. But at some point, she rolled her window down to take photos. And that's when it went wrong. Other tourists in nearby cars saw a lioness approaching her vehicle. They started honking their horns, trying to warn her. But Catherine, she just kept taking photos. The lioness got closer, stopped about 3 feet away, and then she lunged. There's a photo that exists, taken by someone in another vehicle, showing the lioness with her paws on the Jeep, her muzzle forcing its way through the window seconds before the attack. It's, chilling, to say the least. The lioness bit Catherine through the open window and mauled her neck. She bled out and died at the scene. The 66-year-old tour guide, Pierre Potgieter, was injured trying to fight the lion off and may have suffered a heart attack from the stress. The lioness, by the way, was with her cubs at the time. The park decided not to euthanize her. She was just being a lion. They moved her to a non-public area instead. And Catherine? She came to South Africa to protect wildlife. But in one moment, one decision to roll down that window for a better photo, she became another statistic. All she had to do was keep the window closed.